Well, most people are paid a salary and a bonus. And then we have profit share, and then we have all sorts of really cool perks. Everyone gets that, yeah? Well, when you are the leader of an organization, your compensation is not tied to revenue. It can't be. If it's only tied to revenue, what's the problem with that? You've all been to CEO boot camp. What's the problem? You don't care about your expenses. And you've all heard the adage that if you have a company with a sucky 10% margin that does $1 million a year, which means that it has $900,000 in expenses, and it says, we have a goal this year to double our profitability. We want to go from $100,000 in profit to $200,000. You have two options in the extreme. One of them is to what revenue? Double. You have to go from 1 million to 2 million, and you guys know how hard that can be. And the other option is to figure out how to take your expenses from 900,000 to what? 800,000. Which one is easier? When you are a low margin company, managing your expenses becomes really important. When you are a high margin company, focusing on revenue growth is really important. And for everyone here, there's a balance. And years ago, when I promoted Carson to executive director, I basically tied his ship to me. Because as the owner of the company, guess when I get a distribution? When there's what? When there's profit. And I said, Carson, I love you. And I'm not going to give you a bonus because you did good. I'm not going to give you a bonus because you produced a certain amount of revenue. I'm going to give your bonus the same way I get bonused, because that's what a distribution is as an owner. Your bonus is going to correlate perfectly to mine. You mismanage expenses, I don't get a distribution, you don't get a bonus. It's a very, very simple world. We are moving to everyone being treated as CEOs in training. And that means that compensation gets to level up in that vein. So the reason why I'm sharing that with you is we're going to be giving you later today some information on how do you produce ROI for a department? How do you really understand what ROI is for a person? And we're going to give you very specific numbers on exactly what based on 2022, we've analyzed your companies. Some of the new companies, we don't have that data, but for the most part, we're going to basically look back on 2022 and say, hey, based on 2023, we have historical data that Carson has spent countless hours and months analyzing. And we're basically going to give you guys an opportunity to figure out, what is the ROI of my team, my company, my department? And then I'm going to be rewarded based on growing it. And ultimately, ROI is going to be a function of two things: revenue and expenses. And the game is, I got to figure out how to maximize that profit margin. And the freedom and responsibility that's going to come to you is really cool, because right now, most of you don't have budgets. And guess what you're all going to be given? A budget. You know what's really cool about a budget? Kim might say, Kris, with the power of AI, I have figured out how to cut my staff in half, pay everyone twice as much money, and I have found a way to increase my ROI. And I'd say, cool. Kim could say, nope, I'm going to run in the other direction. I found out that I can hire 5 more people, and based on the ROI of how I'm doing that, that's going to actually increase my ROI. And I'll say, cool. Freedom and responsibility means you've been given a guidepost. And then here's the cool part. If you make enough bad decisions, your ROI goes down, and then your bonus goes down. And if you do that long enough, then you're just in the wrong spot, in the wrong seat. But that's not true of anyone here. We want to give you the tools and the power and the ability to figure out how can you more directly alter your own ROI, just like a business owner thinks, just like a CEO needs to think. And some of you have extensive experience with that here. And for some of you, this is going to be a brand new game. I look at my conversations with Stacy the last couple of weeks, and I keep saying, get with Carson, get with accounting, look at the margin. You have to figure out how to increase margin 30%. And you have to figure out what events to push and which ones not, and how to reprice them to make sure that we do that, so that when we get to the end of the year, we hit the goal and I can produce distributions to our shareholders in that organization that puts a smile on their face. That's not an easy task, but it does cause you to think different than 3 bookings a week. Now it's like, now I really need to get way more advanced in what my bookings look like. Now, you learning how to do this makes you a much more valuable asset. And that's an asset that I want to always say, wow, whatever field you're in, rock it out, do amazing with it, and there's always going to be a bigger opportunity. There will always be a bigger opportunity. And so before I share some very specific hacks that I use in my life that I hope will be useful to you here, here's just a little vision piece. I want to tell you about the next company that is about to be funded. And this is a consult for equity firm. And we believe that we have solved for scaling companies. Every day I meet companies that, based on our board of advisors, based on the experts that we work with, based on our social media, our business expertise, we have attractive components where every day someone is offering me a piece of their company to provide them with support. And 1 in 10 of those is a thatch, meaning 1 in 10 of them is a really big play and a really big opportunity. And since you're all part of the profit share, and there's a couple of technical companies that we're still, foundation is always the most complicated thing on the planet, but we're figuring our profit share component out, and here's what the vision looks like. You guys realize that property, Carlos and I can pull the trigger, and there's $20 million in sales we can ignite, but we won't do it until we're 100% ready. But the moment we are, that money is in the bank and done. And like, that's gonna be, I mean, I know Jason's like, faster Krohn. I promise you, Tim was the best thing that ever happened to you for property, for what that's gonna look like. And so we have to have that done right. I take a look at Fast Track. It is a dinosaur that needs to go through an entire refurbishing. It's a great company, but the model needs to be massively upgraded, which is what we're doing. And that company has massive profits there. I take a look at Thatch, and I'm like, oof. Thatch is, your profit share component that comes off of Thatch. So when I negotiated my ownership with Dan in this company, because he brought such amazing technology and history to the table with this, in any company that I set up, I always take whatever my ownership is, and I always put 5% to profit share and 10% to exit. And that just comes out of my side. I don't ask my partners to bear any of that burden. And I do that for the team, because here's what's happening. We're not aggregating companies. When I look around the room, I don't see different companies. I see one company, and I really see one mission, which is if I were to say it in its simplest, it's to help people achieve their potential. Property is about helping human beings figure out how to own their financial future with greater direct impact than most opportunities would ever give them. Thatch is about solving a massive crisis in the supply chain game between brands and retailers. And they're finally gonna get data and information real time and daily that just doesn't exist in their world. And I take a look at the foundation, and every day I envision the moment when I get to write $1 billion check to that organization. I am a dreamer, but I also have a history of producing results. That one's inevitable, because I got 100 more years on this planet. I'm gonna be 140 years old. I got time to get there, right? And we'll do more than that. It'll be really cool. So I look at I look at everyone here. I look at Casey, the deep diving that you've been doing, and the skills you've acquired in the last 45 days. You're thinking like a CEO very different than you were 2 months ago, because you were in, the money's here, we're in ramp up mode, and then realized there's things that are working and things that aren't, and I have to retool all of this and I have to dive into the books. This is your first run as an executive director, versus someone like Tim that's actually been through this a number of times. Or I look at the 500 people that you are managing in the manufacturing game moving into this space. Let me tell you what I see. I see brilliant, talented people. I see Jason, who has a lifetime of sales expertise, and as Marianne helps get weekly leads flowing, and as Property comes online, and as Kris comes in and gets this thing rocking, that's gonna be the most profitable sales team we have ever created, period. Because franchise doesn't work that way, and it doesn't have an organized structure, and it uses a broker model versus what we do here. Plus you combine it with the power of social media, paid advertising that our marketing team has been crushing on. Like, we are set to do some really great damage. So when I look around the room, I don't see companies, I see talent. I see how you've cultivated yourself. I look at Christine, who somehow manages endless bandwidth. I don't know how she does it. I don't know how. I know that if she's not spinning 300 plates, she gets pissed. And there's never too many plates that you can throw at her. And out of respect, we just don't sometimes, because I just can't believe. I just can't believe how she does it. It's amazing. Every single one of you in this room is amazing. Every single one of you comes with incredible talent, comes with incredible history. We entrusted Trent with currently our largest and most successful organization that frankly is the glue to everything that we do here. And I see how you have to work in tandem with Casey on the entire marketing eyes that last year generated 300 million views. So we have extraordinary people here in this room. And what I'm telling you is we've got a company coming online. It's going to be a private equity play. And I've got partners lined up, several of them, but I'll tell you just about one of them. Ryan Dice and Roland Frazier are in the private equity space, the consult for equity space. They focus mostly on finding business owners, and they provide training to them. They provide them CEO board training, and they provide skills on how to basically produce exits in their companies. But they do not have the ability to grow all of the management teams from within, keep their people motivated, build cultures. They don't have that. And currently, they have 6,000 people a month that are running through a paid structure that could all lead to consult for equity. And they're about to ramp that up with, what was his name again? I always mess up Damon Johnson, and a couple other really big fish out there. And they think they're going to go to 100,000 a month. Next month, they're targeting 10,000. They have this massive machine. And I'm like, Roland, I've known you for 2 years. Why aren't you putting all these people into consult for equity? Roland says, well, after 40 years, I've only done 42 consult for equities personally because they all require me. And we've built a sustainable engine with Tim Weeks and myself and a few others where we're going to be able to take all their overflow and just them as a partner, as an affiliate partner, can literally drive all day long people that pay $5,000 to $10,000 just to be assessed as a possibility for consult for equity. So what's really cool about a consult for equity play is that gets us involved in so many different industries. And there's a really cool model behind it, but one of the cool things is it's not only going to be a huge boon to the profit share, it does something more important. I look at where we're headed and I look at the opportunity for everyone here in this room, and whatever gig you're working on right now, I would be looking at that as like, this is my 2 to 5 year play. This is a place where I get to crush ROI, and then I get to be given a bigger playing field and a bigger opportunity. That's what I've done with Carson from day one. Some of you have now been seeing what that looks like for some of you, and we're going to see some huge acceleration in this. So we've been building a beastly infrastructure to be able to handle all this, and it is to be a huge support to entrepreneurs across all industries, and we're going to do it. We're going to do it in a really big, profound way. The consult for equities that I've been working on this last year, crazy successful, crazy happy, and we have figured out the whole game of scale. And now we're about to bring them a whole new game of resource. So I'm sharing this with you because if you look at this retreat versus the last retreat, Marianne, there's a lot of new company heads here that weren't here. Dan, you were just barely here at the last retreat, right? And this is your first retreat, and this is Tim's first retreat. This is our first retreat together. This is Stacy's very first retreat. So if you look at the room, it's like, wait a second, half of the people here have just joined the game at a really cool level. And if we view ourselves individually, but also collectively, what I really see where the magic is going to fly is in cross-pollination of marketing, cross-pollination of productization, but most importantly, cross-pollination of talent. Because we were, Dan, on an exploratory call with one of the companies that we're vetting right now. It's a family values-based internet and first ever social media platform that's age appropriate with nothing inappropriate, all inspiring, educational, and entertaining content. Because I got teenagers, and we are going to solve and be the first on the scene to not just provide a service that says, oh, we're going to help you filter. Like, no, that's not what's needed right now. If you take something bad and you filter out all the bad, what you're left with is not good. Go to VidAngel and watch Game of Thrones, take everything bad out, and put that in front of your child. They will not walk away inspired. They will not walk away with good feelings. They will not walk away other than educated in a whole lot of garbage and bad, and that's the problem with filter. So we're creating a curated platform, a parent-driven wiki platform. We're going to create Ignite curators only that can produce social that meets all of our standards, backed by AI to make sure that it is all fully vetted. And Dan, I said, hey, we need this resource we've been having weekly meetings for 3 months on this. And you pulled in Greg, He did a little bit of something on the side, produced something amazing. That company is getting mature to the point where if I had to guess that, we're going to get a green light on that one. The private equity firm, we're going to get a green light on that. And we've got other companies that we're working on right now. So you're going to see this team continue to grow and expand. And every time I do, guess what I'm looking for? I'm not looking for companies. Guess what we're really looking for? People. Very specific people. And yeah, you're going to feel the call over the next 90 days to call anyone on your team that is not an A player. And we're going to give you standards to help you know, so it's not just a floofy adjective. I hate adjectives. Adjectives are feeling words that don't actually give you a standard. A standard is a metric. It's a number. It's measurable, and you're going to get some of that today. So I'm sharing this with you because I want you to know that our success and where we go and what we do, the playing field is way bigger for you than you may really know or realize. Whatever role you're in, I see it as short term, meaning for most of you here, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-year play before there's a way bigger opportunity presented. And I'm going to give you the metric by which you can win, which ultimately is going to come down to one thing. What is it called? ROI. You'll be able to measure the ROI of your department or your company. And ultimately, as that number trends in the right way, it means that you've been an amazing steward, you're growing it, and that's what's going to breed more opportunity.